We are live. Welcome back, everyone. Another town hall. Let me go ahead and share my screen for some notes. We'll get started here. And I've got the YouTube chat there in the lower right, so we can keep an eye on that collectively if anyone joins in there. All right. Hope everyone had a good holiday, and I know we're kind of into the holiday season here, but hope we can still make some progress in some of these things. I'm going to go through the action items first. First one was mine to create a new badge for the Adapt 3D Splints for Ukraine program, which I did. So you'll find that here under our badges. It's under the maker category. So right here in the middle, you'll find it. It just puts it at the end, I guess, because it's just in order of when they were created. I don't know. I mean, it's nothing. I know it's not anything fancy, but I was able to work in their logo and synced up the color scheme. I hope you guys are okay with that. You can't do much with these badges because they have to be able to be displayed at a 250 by 250 resolution, which is pretty small. So you can't really have a lot going on in them.
I think it's great. Thank you.
So that's out there. Now we got to get people to claim it. I've got my printers going right now. And this is where Ben would usually be the one to post something in the main forum to say, hey, we've got a new badge, come join us. Sarah, could we maybe ask for your help with that?
Sure.
And you know where to find that. It's under badges. It's under the maker category. And it's right at the end there, Adapt 3D Splints for Ukraine. So you can just link people straight to that. And they just click on claim this badge and provide their evidence. Okay.
So that's great. There was some back and forth about Greece, the European contingent, needing a little more paperwork before they could get behind it. I'm not sure where that stands today, but I have not yet sent out the press release. Sarah, why don't we agree that we should incorporate information about this badge into the press release?
Okay.
And I will inform this group that while we could send out the press release at little or no charge, by piggybacking on Bio for Climate, it would come out under Biodiversity for Livable Climate's letterhead, if you will. But for $100, we can do a one-off, and I think we should do it that way just to not bring in an irrelevant player. So I want to propose that Sarah and I will work on the communications, but that this esteemed group authorize $100 for a press release.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. It certainly seems more relevant to e-NABLE. So why don't we, I know there's not a lot of us here today, but let's take a vote with what we have. Everyone in favor of allocating $100 for this?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Unanimous, approved. Thank you, John. On we go. Next one was for, the next one was for Rick, but to be fair, it relies on me and I haven't gotten to my part yet. So I need to meet with Rick to go over this process for following up with chapters now in the audit to try to start translating our inquiry into their language and see if we can get, you know, a little bit of one-to-one response where the mass email didn't have effect. I did send it out a second time and it didn't have much difference. I have not yet met with Rick to do that. So Rick, let's you and I try to hook up this week. I'll have to look at my schedule after this. And I know you're pretty flexible, so we should be able to find a time next week to meet and go over that process.
Sure.
Okay. Same thing with Jeremy and John drafting a Lumio discussion thread about what we discussed for the voting guidelines. We have not gotten together on that. Let's shoot for next week sometime. John, well, I know yeah, your schedule tends to be a little bit more restrictive. So do you want to propose something?
Sure. You want to try to work it out right now? I think that would be wise.
That would be fine. Yeah. As long as we're both here. Got my calendar.
Okay. So, by the way, James Quilty is visiting here in Rochester this weekend from Thailand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But he'll have moved on by Monday. I'm free Eastern time Monday from 10 to 2.
Mondays are not the best for me. What else you got?
Okay. Tuesday, 12 to 2.
Okay, I do have some meetings in there. Do you have anything later on Tuesday?
No.
Okay.
2 to 3 is okay. My
2 to
time.
3 East, 2 to 3 East. Oh, well, I have a meeting with
Okay.
a vendor then. All right, how about
Wednesday
afternoon?
afternoon. No, I've got a medical. Well, I could do 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock works. I've got an hour open there.
There we go.
Okay, I will send you an invite for noon my time on Wednesday. Let me just
I'm sending it to you right.
oh, thank
No,
you,
go ahead
John.
and send it to me. Please do.
Okay, let me just get a reminder for myself here. Here, I'll just do it here. I don't want to be doing that on my shared screen. Give me 1 second, folks.
I'm doing it, Chairman.
Thank you, John. Yeah, if you want to just send the invite, I'll add the Zoom info then. How about that?
I've added my own Zoom. We're fine.
Oh, that's right. You're on the account. Even better. Okay, let's move on then. Adam, coordinate a meeting of e-NABLE new leaders. This has just kind of been hanging out on here as Adam continues diligently to try to coordinate a meeting, but I don't think we've had much success there, and I'm not sure we know what to try next.
Yeah, I have not been trying diligently the past couple of weeks.
Well, I
I've
mean, how
kind of
much
given
can you
up
do?
here.
Yeah. John, what do you think at this point? I don't quite know where to go with this. I mean, it's it's one thing to kind of for us to reach out to somebody and say, hey, would you be interested in helping us out with such and such? That's not the same as somebody like Adam that is really prepared to invest the time and really, going to
Right.
engage. I don't know how to find people like that who are really ready to engage and commit themselves some time. And
University programs.
I'm sorry, what did you just say about university programs?
Oh, I was just saying it was a little tongue in cheek, but it's true in my experience. People who seem most motivated to do and organize are people who are maybe a little bit further on in an undergraduate or graduate program.
Mhm.
So maybe, wait a minute, maybe instead of looking at this as like a leadership, now hang on. What if we had, instead of a leadership team, since that's having a little bit of trouble getting off the ground, as a stopgap, or at least as a way to get things moving, what if we engaged some of our younger members and brought them up? I don't know. Mentorship is a little bit disingenuous because really we're looking for their direct effort. But what if we had people who had assigned roles within the e-NABLE community and maybe gave them like exclusive badges or something? Everybody loves gamification, and try to see if we could spur a little bit of motivation among members who maybe want to be involved, especially people who have posted on the hub recently about, I saw this week that a couple of people were saying that they really want to be involved and they don't really know how or where to start. Maybe looping a few people together and getting a couple of teams with some targeted initiatives that we, this group can decide on.
Well, these are all good ideas. How do I say this? We just struggle on the execution because everything that you're talking about requires a human being in the mix to kind of make it happen, to coordinate, to make those connections, and we've just never really established that. I mean, what you're talking about sounds like an expansion of our internship program in a way, which I love, but we had a hard enough time finding, 2 interns, through Ian, who runs, a program. So we've talked about the badging side of it before, which we're definitely in favor of if we could figure out how to structure that. We just haven't figured out the right mechanism. I mean, we've got a spreadsheet set up with all our volunteering needs, and we created a space for that, and we've put a pinned post on the forum to show kind of what our current top volunteering needs are, which is probably drastically out of date. I don't know. We've just never really found the right approach to make it work.
Sure.
So all your ideas are good. We just need somebody to kind of really, it takes somebody like us, I think, to kind of take ownership of that and start to make things happen. So
I think I agree with Jeremy's diagnosis and lament. People do and are doing what fits them. It's not as much as we all can imagine, but I think we found that e-NABLE is a place where at any given moment, there are a few people, I'm looking at Rick right now, who are heavily involved in certain kinds of activities, and other people who are lightly involved, but have got real limits on their time. I think, Adam, I think my best advice is for you to invest heavily in something like the Afghan project that you think you can champion and benefit from championing. And that initiative, like what we do in these meetings, just sort of keeping everything running. Sarah is going to be beefing up the newsletter and writing some news articles that may stir things up. But I think we just have to be a place where initiatives like the Ukraine project can get picked up by small groups that are willing and able to do it. And we've tried, but I don't really see a significant, large leadership group at the moment emerging to take over everything. I think, a year ago when we started this initiative, Jeremy and I were saying, and it wasn't false, that each of us has got less time than we used to, and that it would be good to have new leadership. And in truth, we found Adam and Rick during that period, and that's great. But I don't think we're going to, appearances are that we're not going to get much more going. So I think it's time to rethink the strategy.
Well, I think you're right, John. And as I'm listening to you talk, what occurs to me is that maybe it's not a matter of us, making it happen as much as the publicity side of it making it happen. Remember back in 2014 when we were getting all that publicity in the media and people were coming out of, the woodwork, wanting to get involved and wanting to help. The Ukraine project might be our best opportunity. And if we can move that forward, get the press release out there, get some renewed media attention on e-NABLE and the cool work we're doing with, making 3D printed, braces for, people in Ukraine and everything. That's a cool story that I think will get picked up a lot. That will probably generate new interest in what we're doing and might see some new people coming to us to say, hey, how can I help? So that might be the best thing we can focus on right now, is just getting the word out there on that.
So that's where we are, I think, is a few key active initiatives, continuing effort to find and support people like Adam, who take the lead on particular things, and just sort of keeping the general circulation going so the patient is alive and well, even if not, like me, involved in an active exercise program.
Absolutely. And then, once the Afghan project is further along, I think that could make for a great story too, just in terms of how we were able to address a need that typical channels weren't able to address in a time of need. I mean, I think there's a really cool story in there and how it all came together and all the different pieces that were needed. There's a really cool story. I don't think we're there yet, but that would be one that would be media worthy as well.
I think there's one other that's cooking. Rick, I failed to acknowledge, I apologize. You sent me that really nice cylindrical, whatever you call it, thing. What's it called?
I just wanted to make sure you got it because sometimes things get lost in the mail.
No, I know. I did get it, and it's wonderful. What's it called?
It's a lithopane.
That's the word I was looking for.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this is a lithopane of in this case, it's not of a sonogram, but it could be. I think that story of a lithopane for a blind mother of a fetus ultrasound is also the kind of story that could go viral. Rick is going to look into whether the recipient of that one is willing to be interviewed for a story by Sarah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really nice story.
So So there we are. I think every
Okay.
so often we strike a nerve and things get active, and that's not nothing.
I don't want to get off
Not
track
everything.
here, but because I don't think I have it on the agenda, I'm curious, where's the process at that where I don't know if it's what Nush is working on or not, but there was talk about really building up the NIH 3D print exchange and having a whole e-NABLE categorized, have that be the master catalog. Has that moved forward at all as far as you're aware, John?
I'm really not on top of it.
Okay.
I'm
So
going
we
to
should
say
check in
that
with-
Sarah is the one who should be on top of it at this point, but she's, I think, catching up.
Sure,
But-
yeah.
I think that's one of the important functions. It's just
Okay. Maybe
have
maybe
this-
it would be a good time to just get an update from them. Do you want to do that? Maybe Sarah, check in with Ian and Nush and just say, hey, can you maybe provide a progress update and let us know what you're up to? And
Sure.
okay. Put that on here. Whoops. Okay. On we go. Here's our stats for the week. Let's see, I didn't really look this over before, but it looks pretty typical to me. I don't see anything that really stands out. Our e-NABLE fund, 25K. It's time to be thinking about fundraising, I think. Nothing urgent yet. We do have another year of support coming from Dora. That's right, isn't it, John?
Yep.
Another year. So, and remind me how much that last check from them will be?
20K.
Okay.
And they gave us reason to hope that it wouldn't be the last check, but we will have to discuss the next cycle.
Excellent. Well, that'll and what's the timing of that? Do you remember when that their anniversary is? I want to say it was late
I
in the
think-
year.
I think the communication was after New Year's.
Okay, perfect. So that actually would put us in pretty good shape for next year, most likely, given the pace at which we've been using the fund so far. It's just something to think about for the longer term. Okay, posts of note from the hub. Sarah, thank you very much for helping with this. Yes,
The links should be in there, so I don't know why they're not.
they are. I just didn't have them
Okay.
expanded yet. Yep.
Okay.
So Stephanie Dovers, probably not pronouncing that right, challenges with hand printing. So let's check that out. So in this case, I haven't really, normally I kind of review these in advance, so you have to bear with me. Printing with my students, our first hand model. I think we hit a wall. Okay, so working with the Phoenix hand. This model cannot be built entirely as it was printed. Some of the issues, I printed every piece at 100%. Well, that's a little small. Tensioner block doesn't fit to slide it onto the arm. Currently printing at 105. Okay, I've seen that before where the tolerances are just a little too tight on that tensioner block, and it's probably being exaggerated at that really small scale. The palm and the thermoforming jig have a good 5 millimeters extra on each side, so they don't really fit together at the joint. The palm and the thermoforming jig have a good 5 millimeters extra on each side. So that doesn't make any sense. Did she print the jig at the same scale? Oh yeah, no, she's comparing those joints, but that's not what you compare. It's these joints here on the cuff that you're seeing down below. That's what fits over those pegs on the thermoform thing. The palm doesn't go on the jig. So I think she's kind of visually looking at why don't the joints on the palm, come all the way in? Well, because these thick things here are going to fit in between there. They're going to go over the jig and they're going to be in there, and those will match up flush with the joints on the palm. So looking at this, I do think that looks right. Let's see. Whoops, where was that post? Here we go. Let's see, were there any other issues she talks about here? Yeah, so Masvi says, it seems like you need to adjust slicer settings. It seems like you're over extruding. He's probably right, and that would make that tight fit worse. Makes the outside dimensions larger. Yep. You're also left with stringing. Agreed. A jig is, yeah, okay, so he's explaining the piece about the jig. So I think Mazzy's right. I would have also recommended, though, that she go with a larger scale, something like 130% is going to make this much easier to assemble. But that's optional. Bringing the extrusion level down a little bit, or the flow rate down a little bit, would help, as Mazzy is saying. Anybody else have any suggestions for this volunteer? I think we covered that. Okay. I'm not going to have time to type all that up. Sarah, could I ask you to share a link to that part of our video here so that she can hear that?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
And then there was
Isabel?
one more.
I think I've got 3 more here, right?
The bottom 2 were from the last town hall.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
know if
We'll
I
just get
should-
rid of those then.
Okay.
All right. So Isabella Bellakian, again, I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Leader of the prosthetics club at my high school called PRS Prosthetics. We're located in San Diego, California. Welcome. Having trouble finding recipients in need, a very common problem. Okay. Is there any resource other than the portal that people have used to find recipients in need? Also pretty new to the group, so if there's any advice on how to get a clean print and how to do sizing correctly, that would be amazing. All right, let's see what people have addressed. One thing we do not recommend anymore is to cut hands to children only to please your makers. People would spread gossips. Okay, I'm out.
I
Odd
think you,
wording. I think what Thierry meant is we do not recommend making these devices for very, very small children. It's often the parents sort of, or the makers trying to make themselves feel better. And, you know, let's wait until the kids are old enough to actually want this for themselves is what he's saying, I think.
what I thought he was saying is we do not conduct amputations for the purpose of giving makers anything to do.
Oh, goodness. Really? Is his sense of humor that? Oh, my goodness. You're right. Now that I'm reading it again, you're probably right. That's okay.
Oh, no, I guess we'll have to change our model. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
right.
Well, true.
True.
Recommend you should try reach out to hospitals, medical centers, religious centers, schools. Good. That's a good list. Since you're still in high school, you should share your project with your teachers or counselors. They might have access to more information and broader network. Good advice. Sarah invites them to join our new member meetup. Thank you. Let's see, you may find information on how to get started. Link to the Launchpad. Excellent. That Launchpad is going to get them to the making guidance and sizing tutorials. Well, if you look at the sizing badge, they share several methods. Good. So I'm glad Connie pointed that out, because the sizing badge specifically will get them to the sizing tutorials for the different methods that we have, and they'll get everything they need from there. I guess since we're going to share this part of the video on this one, I'll take the moment to go ahead and demonstrate that if you, it's actually under devices, if that's the easier way to get to it. If you just go to our device catalog, there is a note about e-NABLE device sizing here, right on the left here. And if you just click on e-NABLE device sizing, you're presented with 3 methods here. And each method has links for downloading files. There's video tutorials, everything that you need for these 3 sizing methods. We recommend the first 2, the virtual fitting methods. They're a lot more robust and a lot more likely to provide a good outcome. The third option is easier in that it just takes a simple measurement and uses that to scale a device, but it's based on a single measurement of the palm. And so it's a lot less accurate than doing these 3-dimensional sort of virtual fittings that are outlined up above. Okay. On we go. Thank you for your help with that, Sarah. That was very helpful. Our recurring meetings, let's see, this is out of date. What is our recurring meeting looking like today? What do we have? Nothing today. What's our next one? I should
We do have
that's right.
a meeting
have-
today. We have Bionic Designs at
Oh,
1
yes, I just don't have
EST.
that on my calendar. So we have the Bionic Design Team meeting today, and let me just pull up the December schedule. Thank you for doing this, Sarah.
The email went out yesterday. So
Awesome. So here's today, the Bionic team is going to have Ryan Saavedra sharing his journey with Alt Bionics. That sounds very interesting. And then let's see, December 12th, we have John leading the chapter leaders meeting, talking about 2023 goals. And then on the 16th, which is a Friday. That last one, by the way, the chapter meeting will be on Monday, December 12th. Then on Friday, the 16th, we've got the Enable Education and new member meetup. So is that, I understand that's being combined. Is that the idea?
Mhm.
Okay, excellent. John will offer insight about how to mobilize Enable education efforts with David Mazur of Adapt 3D. Awesome.
Right,
Anything to add?
he's a high school student,
Okay.
which I think is impressive and interesting in its own right. Jeremy, for this chapter, and Rick also, for this chapter leaders meeting, I hope you can make that one.
December
Just because,
12th.
you know, the point there is just to, and Adam also.
Okay, I do have that on my schedule.
It's sort of Wither 2023.
Very good. Thanks for doing that calendar of events, Sarah. I know that takes a lot of work. It's hard to get responses back from people. All right. Discussion topics, splints for Ukraine. We are, I think, fully ready to go. Although you said, John, the press release has not gone out just yet, but I mean, as far as our volunteers are going, they can be printing right now, right?
They could be, although we have not sent a message to all of them urging them to do it.
Okay.
So, Sarah, that we should take care of that.
I think
At
it's such a fun and cool way to help, and it's such an easy thing to print when your printers are idle. I think you'll see good participation in this. And I have to be honest, I think the badge helps. I found myself this morning after I was going back to look at the new badge. I said, well, now we need somebody to claim this badge. So I went and got my printer started. So
There you go.
Badges work.
Great.
All right. Lumio voting process. John and I have a write-up to do, so we don't need to go into that today. Let's take a look at our open help desk tickets. I think Rick has really been on top of this, so we probably don't have anything to talk about here. Looks like there's only one that might be new. This was somebody talking to our bot. SLS powder 3D printer. Do you have complete models? Okay, so the bot kind of misunderstood that one. Do you want me to print for you? Okay, places in Wales to print for. Okay, so this guy did not get the answers he wanted from the bot, Rick. So what he's asking is, he's got an SLS printer. Are you familiar with those?
I have one.
An SLS?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the other room. It's a Delta Plus.
Are we talking about the same thing? Selective laser sintering, where it's a bed of powder and it's sintering it layer by layer, and you have to.
Well, ours is not laser. Ours is ours uses liquid.
Oh, that's SLA.
I'm
That's a
sorry.
resin
Yeah,
printer.
you got me.
Okay. All right. So for an SLS printer, uses a solid, like a bed filled with powdered medium. Usually it's like a
Right.
nylon
Ours
powder.
is liquid.
And because of the fact that you're printing basically layer by layer within this sort of pool of powder, it's fully supported as you're printing. So you can print any object, any complexity. Supports are just inherent in the process. It's a much more expensive type of printing. Not a lot of people have access to it. And so what he's asking is, do you have any models of like full hands that are fully assembled that could be printed, in place? And I'm not sure that's something we've ever really tried to do, although it occurs to me that since the last time this inquiry came in, Alexander did some work on some print in place models. Now, those were designed for FDM print in place, but I'm wondering if that might be a path towards printing in SLS, printing an assembled hand in SLS. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but I guess, do you want me to reply to this one, Rick? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It
some
sounds like you've
thoughts?
got more of a handle on it. I didn't even
Okay.
get the acronym right.
Yeah, no problem. Let me assign this one over to myself. I think at the end of the day, the best I can do is share with him that print in place Phoenix, but even that is not fully assembled. It's just the palm and fingers that are sort of pre-assembled. And I suspect those would be able to print on an SLS printer, but I don't know. Might be an interesting test to do though. The other thing I don't know about an SLS printer is because of the nature of that medium, your objects end up with a a kind of a rough matte surface finish. And I don't know how moving parts would work, off of an SLS printer, but could be interesting to try.
Yeah, I was thinking of it. That's the one that I'm sorry, that's where I was getting, they had that one where they actually printed the tools, like the monkey wrench and everything,
Yeah,
and then it
yeah.
worked when they took it off. That was neat.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
All right, so tickets are looking good. Thank you very much for managing that help desk, Rick. And we talked about the chapter audit before. I don't think there's anything else to talk about right now. It's just a matter of Rick and I getting together next week, going through the process for starting to update our master spreadsheet with the responses that we did get, and then reaching out individually to those that did not respond. And I think it's going to be a gradual process of updating our, I don't think this is going to be a point in time audit. I think this is going to be an audit that happens over the next several months until we get through most of our data. And then at the end, we'll have some collection left that we were never able to get a hold of. And those maybe will be the ones that we just take off the list. I don't know. Okay, continuing education credits. I'll just review this quick because I don't think Adam was here the last time we talked about this. And maybe you know something about this. I really like this idea. And so I did a little searching and I found, this might not be the only option, but I found this, what appears to be an international certifying organization, IACET, International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training. And I don't know, sounded awfully promising to me. I haven't taken it any further than this, but there's a lot of information on their site about how to qualify and their standards and everything like that. And I think at this point, it would make sense for somebody other than me, somebody with an educational background, to look into this further. Anybody interested in doing that? We've got several educators on the call here. All right, well, I'll just leave it hanging out there as a to-do then. I think that would be an interesting avenue to explore, though. That organization might be able to work with us on getting some kind of continuing education credits that would be recognized across all of our various geographic locations, or at least most. Okay, Adam, have you had any further contact with the gentleman with 50 legs? Steve Chambers.
Yes and no. So I have, I sent a text. He sent a text back. He tried to give me a call. We've been playing phone tag.
Okay.
That was actually on my to-do list to give him another try earlier this week, and it completely slipped my mind.
No problem. That's what these meetings are for, sometimes, just to remind us.
Yeah, I will. I'll give him a try again before the end of the day.
Sounds good. And what is going on with the Afghanistan initiative?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could use some help.
Okay.
Like I think I'm officially at the point where I need some buy-in from some other members of this group to handle some of the logistics side. I had a meeting with the Helping Hand Project earlier this week. It was, if anyone from HHP is watching or on the call, wasn't your fault. But there were some audio technical issues that made it so that I was able to present at least, but I wasn't able to field any questions or hear their audio. And I haven't yet heard back from any of their members. What the purpose of the call was to sort of explain what what I've been doing with the Afghanistan project and try to gin up a little bit of support and see if anybody would be interested in assisting me with ironing out the logistics details. As things currently stand, my to-dos, or at least the things that we need to get in a row, are number one, clear and consistent documentation pathway so that all of the measurements that are sent in for potential recipients can be clearly viewed and cases can be grabbed by members of the e-NABLE community. So that's problem number one. That's sort of beyond my skill set to accomplish. Problem number two is the logistics pathway of actually shipping the devices from one place to Kabul. I think that I have a through line through Pakistan. I have finally gotten contact with a member from Grit 3D. We're also playing a little bit of circle chase, trying to find a time that works to meet, just because of the 12-hour time difference is a little bit challenging. but I am hopeful that once I establish contact there, I will either A, get more information about how we could ship through Pakistan with their relatively open borders, with Afghanistan being the big positive, or B, and this is my first choice, Grid 3D would directly facilitate those shipments, and whether that would be the kind of thing where we would, from our funds, provide some kind of, provide the cost of shipping. All of those details, I just have no idea, because it's been so challenging just getting a hold of anybody who has access to this information. Not giving up hope. I think that there's the potential to do a lot of good, but I haven't been able to provide any real tangible updates to the people in Kabul for a little over a month now, and I think they're getting a little bit, starting to think that maybe this isn't going to go anywhere. At this point, if anyone is interested in having a more hands-on role with this, I would really appreciate the help, because I think I've hit one too many walls, and I'm starting to lose a little bit steam myself.
Yep.
Adam, I'm happy to help with this if you want to talk about ways that I can tangibly.
Yeah, that would be amazing,
forward.
Sarah.
Okay.
It really, I mean, even if it's just somebody I can talk to to try to like work some of these things out, because
Well,
I've been hitting my head against the wall.
I can offer the
months on this.
same. I can offer that same for the first item on your to-do list. I can offer at least an ear and a discussion. Maybe we can hammer something out. So on the documentation pathway, if you want to at least talk through that, I can give you some ideas. I can give you some starting points. I don't know if I can actually build something for what you need, but I think we might have some options that would work. So if you want to just set up a meeting to talk through that might.
Well, and Rick had offered, he had some suggestions about a way to make that work too. So maybe if I could set up a time with you and Rick.
Sure.
Because I think Rick was, and Rick, I don't want to put words in your mouth or misrepresent, but my understanding was that you had offered up maybe a little bit of elbow grease to get something like this off the ground. So that, if we could get a planning session together and then decide how that needs to happen, that would be great.
Absolutely. Would you mind coordinating that with us, Adam?
Yeah, not at all. Be my
Awesome.
pleasure.
I'm pretty flexible. Afternoons generally work better for me on the weekdays than mornings, but otherwise I'm pretty flexible.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everything you have done. I hope we can help you to move it forward. I know there's a lot of challenges with that, but let's see what we can do. I think we can make some progress with some others helping out here.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So then the next topic I have here is the potential new kit for bionic experimentation. I have to admit, I haven't made a lot of progress here, only because now that I've collected some wonderful data from people on the team, I'm kind of left scratching my head with like, okay, now what do I do with this? And I think I'm going to need some help. I think I'm probably going to have to come back to that team for another discussion to just kind of talk through like which of these components it might make sense to include in a kit, and how do we structure this? How do we approach this? I haven't quite figured that out yet. But we did gather a lot of really helpful insights from people that have been working on bionics, which I have in the spreadsheet here. Meanwhile, I've been thinking about the possibility of, maybe before we even launch a bionic kit, which is going to take some work and a lot of sourcing, I'm thinking about other kits that we could offer, and I'm wondering if there would be value in offering a kinetic hand kit, because that's kind of been the more popular design lately. You don't need a lot for it, so people wouldn't. I mean, you can easily go out and get what you need without buying a kit, and some people will. That's fine, but a lot of people do prefer the kits, especially our school volunteers, things like that. So, if I think about a kinetic hand kit, there are the screws to attach the palm mesh. There's Velcro straps. There's the palm, the medical grade foam padding that goes in the inside the cuff, which is perhaps the hardest to get in smaller quantities. So, and then of course the cord, the non-flexible cord. So it would be less than what's in our Phoenix kits. You don't need the flexible cords or elastics or anything like that, but I don't know. I kind of feel like there would still be value in that. What do you guys think? Would there be value in a sort of a simple kit with what you need to make a kinetic hand?
Jeremy, aren't
TPU.
the, doesn't, I'm sorry, Rick.
All the
Is it-
TPU, you'd probably have to get.
No, people get their own TPU. I'm not going to put filament in the kit. I mean, we sell that separately.
I'm just saying that a lot of people's printers don't work with TPU.
Well, that's a separate issue. I mean, people have already embraced the kinetic hand. There's a lot of people making it. Those that don't want to deal with TPU won't make it, of course, but that's not a
No, I
question.
meant in the kit.
Yeah, Jeremy,
Oh, no,
think
you can't include the actual hinge pieces because I don't know what I'd have to include, 10 different sizes. I don't know what size hand they're making. So yeah, including 3D printed parts has never really been part of the strategy there.
that's to me the only concern I would have. I think it would be great to make it easy for the kinetic to be the default. But those TPU hinges, both printing them and sliding them in, has been a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the design. That's not something
Like
I can change.
Any of the Bowden printer, Bowden-like printers don't do TPL very well. And it just kind of depends on the architecture of your printer.
Of course. But again, that's, I'm not debating the design. I feel like the design has already proven itself. We have many
Yeah.
people making the kinetic hand based on badges. It's one of our most popular designs. So I'm just asking for those people that can print flexible, that are making a kinetic hands for people, would kits be helpful to them,
I think you're the best judge of that.
Fair enough.
Probably so.
All right, we'll keep looking at that. So those are the two kits in consideration right now as potentially a kinetic hand and then some kind of a bionic experimentation kit, but I'm gonna have to get back with the bionic team on that one probably after the new year. Okay, I don't think I've really updated these other points on here in some time, so I don't really feel the need to run through all these. Instead, let me just ask if anyone else here needs to talk about anything that you need help with or want to update us on. Otherwise, we can wrap a little early.
I feel
What do
like
you
I
have
had
there,
something.
Rick?
Hang on.
What do you have there, Rick?
Oh, we're working on something for a guy that he lost a couple of fingers.
Yeah, you want to show us?
And yeah, I've got a photo of what it's going to look like.
Ooh, nice.
It's not a real hand, but this is basically the way it'll work. You can snap as many fingers on as you wish onto this thing. And the way it works is these fingers just snap right onto here.
So this is for somebody that's missing just the distals on their
Yeah,
fingers.
and he has just a small nub left.
Okay.
And the way it will work is he'll put his nub in here
Yep.
and he'll be able to
Yeah, it's
then
all
operate
mechanical.
he'll be
That's
able
really
to operate
nice.
it this
What
way.
are the pins you're using in there?
Oh, these are actually, they don't even fit. They're screws.
Oh, okay.
And as you can see, they're too long. I've got to get shorter ones, but this is just a test unit.
Got it.
But
Or
they
you
were a
could
little
just
too
use
long.
You probably have a Dremel tool there, one of those cutting.
Oh yeah, I
discs. You
could cut
just
them off.
those right off.
Yeah. I normally just use real long ones, and because I've got so many, because I
Sure.
get these big blocks of them, right? And then I just cut them
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Plus, it tends to seal the nut on when you
What
do
is
that, when
the-
you cut them off.
What is the design? Is this something you got off a Thingiverse or is this something new?
Oh, this is just going to be a one-off. This is just going to be probably the only one I make. This
But I
one,
mean-
it looks like this.
Right, but where did the actual CAD file come from? Is this something that you designed or is this something?
Well, actually, I'm a little nervous about this one because you've seen Naked Bionics makes one sort of like this, and I
Wait.
don't want them coming for me.
Nobody's
know.
coming for you, but I do want to try to get an actual clear answer here. Are you saying you did the CAD work on this? You designed?
Oh yeah,
this?
yeah. It's a one-off.
What CAD platform are you using?
Shark CAD.
SharkCAD. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I
one.
like it only because the reason I like SharkCAD is because it's not a rental. You own it. And the other one is the one I sent John. We're working on. It's this one, and we're getting there. This one is I've got the cuff done. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the cuff full length because my printer wouldn't support it. But John asked me for here, it looks kind of like this. John asked for an X-ray, so I printed an X-ray. Kind of an X-ray. And this is basically this is the mechanics here. This is the actuators for it. And this one's going to use 5 of these actuators. This is what they look like. They're really cool. This is a 11 pound. This one actually can lift 11 pounds. Stop that. And one for each finger. You'll see that it's super simple. You've got the actuator that's actually, it's easier to see in the thumb, but you've got the actuator that sits there and then it just drives the finger. And then later on, we're going to convert it to the new metal bicycle chain fingers. We've rebuilt the entire bicycle chain finger. We don't need the springs anymore. We got rid of that.
John, do you want to try or should I?
Uh-oh, here we go.
I know that look. You can do it, Chairman.
All right, Rick, it's a lot of work for a one-off. And that might be enough for you to satisfy you, but I gotta say, your work should be getting leveraged way beyond those one-offs. If we can figure out a way of sharing what you're doing and minimal documentation so that others could make what you're making, there seems to be a lot of value in what you're doing. It just seems such a shame for those to be one-off projects and never go further.
Well, one of the things that scares me is Naked Bionics builds something very similar.
So what?
And
You didn't
sue
use their
everybody.
files, did you?
No, they don't get. They actually don't provide them. But the
then
way this
you will
one
have-
works is kind of cool. It's got these little joints in it. See there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
They can't patent the mechanics, Rick. You've got your own CAD file. You've got the whole history to show that you built it from scratch. It's not something that you need to worry
Well, let me
about.
say, they can patent the mechanics, but
Yeah, they did.
if they have, well,
Yeah, they're always after somebody. Those guys.
really?
well, that's not. Are you saying Open Bionics is always after somebody?
Oh,
I doubt
I'm sorry.
that.
Naked Bionics. Naked Bionics.
Naked Bionics, okay.
My miss.
Are they in the habit of suing people for patent infringement, or are you just saying that people who have
No,
patents?
they are apparently Naked Bionics is, I think, very much in the habit of going after people that mess with their design. I don't personally own a lawyer, so I just am very cautious on one-offs.
You're not very cautious because you're live streaming as we speak.
Yeah. No, this is not their design, but it's similar.
That's my point. It's not, I mean, if you built this from scratch in CAD, I don't think there's anything wrong with being inspired by somebody's work.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's not working out real well.
In the future,
we're-
you might just not mention them at all.
Yeah, that's probably good, but no, theirs is different, but
Anyway, my point is, whether it's that one or even the other one that you showed us with the actuator in the thumb, I mean, that again is something that I haven't seen before. And there's so much work that's going into that. I know how much time goes into building these CAD models and then printing and testing and changing. And I know how much time goes into that. It's just a shame for those to be treated as one-offs. There's a lot of people that could build on your work and benefit from.
It's awfully simple though. I mean, it's not
to you.
It's not brain surgery. It's like a couple of joints and
But
so
what you
basically the way it
consider-
works is this, imagine this would go around the finger like this. Well,
Yeah, I see how it
whatever
works.
they had.
Yeah.
Imagine that wasn't there. And then it just, it works like
Yeah.
like an additional finger.
I get it, but not everyone is like you who can just decide I'm going to go build this in CAD because it's not that hard. They just it's an insurmountable challenge for a lot of people. So if you can figure out how to share your work by sharing the STL files or the CAD files and sharing some. When I say basic instructions, it could be a little paragraph. Just say, you know, print everything, you know, with Xinfill or whatever, and assemble. I mean, it doesn't have to be extensive, but I would encourage
One of
you.
the problems we're having is the material, because it's a first class lever. The material
Yeah.
takes a lot of stress and it's going to break. We're going to go to Ace Hardware today, and
Okay.
we're going to get some of that flat steel, and we're going to get a hammer, and we're going to see if we can't bend it the same way. We're going to make like a layout, and then we're going to see
Yep.
if we just can't bang out a metal part, because these will break if they pick up more than about 10 pounds.
Yeah.
But it's getting there. And then you just snap on however many fingers they need. This one is, these just pop right onto these little things here,
Yeah.
like this. And then so if they only needed one finger, that's fine. If they needed 2 or 3 or 4, however many fingers, there's no thumb. It's not really made for someone with a thumb, but then this just straps right on the back of the hand, like so.
Yep.
And I haven't really curved it yet. I've been wanting to do that, to curve it a little more, possibly thermoform, but I haven't done that. I was just going to make a CAD curve. It's easier.
Well, I'll
Yeah,
leave
but
it
it's
to
super
you
simple.
I'll leave it to you to figure out any licensing concerns or whatever, but it would really be nice to see you set up your own, you know, just create your own Thingiverse account. It's free. And you just start uploading your work. They don't even have to be finished. They can be works in progress. They have a button for that. Just something to think about.
Oh, I will. I'm, like I said, it's the guy, he was a construction worker, and he lost fingers. And so we're just going to see if we
You know,
can accommodate him, help him out.
If you set up, like I said, if you get in the habit of putting your things on Thingiverse, what's going to happen is, first of all, people can follow you as a designer. They can say, hey, I like this guy's work. They can kind of follow and subscribe to you and kind of see what you're up to. People can also kind of download and test. So if you have something that's marked as a work in progress, they can download it, they can print it, they can try it, and then you'll get comments back on the design saying, hey, I had a problem with this or with that, and you'll get feedback that'll help you to improve it. So just food for thought.
No, I understand. I guess we haven't really done that. Most of the one-offs, we just throw them out when we're done, move on to the next problem.
Yeah. Well,
I know
it'd be
that's
nice
not what
to-
we're supposed to do, but it's
Well, I
the
get
way
it. I mean,
ends
that's
up.
your focus is on helping the next person. Fine. It would be nice though to have it to where you can hand it off to somebody else maybe who could build on what you've done and take it somewhere while you're working on the next one-off, you know. I just hate to see him just go nowhere. It's so much innovation happening in those. Anyway, I said my piece. I will leave it to you to consider. And that's all I have time for today. Anybody else have anything real quick before we wrap up?
Jeremy, I don't have info at e-NABLE access, and there's the meeting this afternoon. So
Oh goodness, yeah, we continue to have this problem, John, because the shared account info@e-NABLE.org, Google really does not like shared accounts. So every time somebody tries to sign in to that email account from a different address, it's saying you need to verify your identity, and it wants to, you know.
So
send-
what's the right solution? Do we just
I
need
think-
a separate account?
I think the right solution is to remove the account that we have for info@e-NABLE.org. Right now it's set up as a separate mailbox, and instead make it a group address that forwards to one or more accounts. And that way, if somebody needs to reset a password on info, it'll just end up in their normal inboxes, whoever we associate with that account.
Okay, I think we should do it. And if
So
that costs a few bucks,
No, it costs
And-
nothing.
okay, I have to go at this very moment.
Okay, I'll set it up. Who wants to get the info@e-NABLE emails then? Should it just go to Sarah for now?
I get them already.
Oh, you're getting
Um,
info, Rick? Okay,
I seem to, I can't swear I get them all. But
Okay.
the only thing we've been able to do with what Sarah's talking about is if you get someone that gets the info, and then
Right.
they try to log in, and then
Right.
it sends a code to your email,
right.
and then you tell them what the code is, and then
Right.
they try to plug it in. And then there's another code after
It's
that.
awful. I know. We want to, that's what we don't want to
So-
have to do. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to go ahead and change it. It sounds like you've been the primary user of it. So I'm going to delete the info@enable.org account. I'm going to create it as a group address that will have members. The members of that group will be you, Rick, and you, Sarah. I think you are the only two that we need in there for right now, because otherwise, you get to like who's responding to this email, right? If there's too many people in there, because what's going to happen now is when somebody emails info@enable.org, you will each get a copy of it. Okay. So that's where this gets tricky is, do we get emails at info@enable.org? Like, do you get inquiries there, Rick?
I get these types of things once in a while, and I'll get warnings that said, somebody just not at your address logged in. So I'll get those kind of warnings that somebody used it. Now I have to use it to do your statistics sometimes. I'll use
Okay.
info, or I'll use one of those because I have to keep switching accounts to do those, to do the
Right.
to do your metrics. And sometimes I get in trouble because I'll be editing the spreadsheet, and then when I switch to go, for instance, to the analytics, I have to switch to a different account, and
Okay,
then
so
it
how about
logs me
this?
off of the
How about this?
spreadsheet.
I'm going to set it up as, like I said, I'm going to set up as a group, and I'm going to put both of you in it as members so that emails go to the two of you. Let's just agree that when it comes to actual email inquiries coming from the outside world, we'll let Rick handle those. So Rick, you're going to be the one responding that way, because otherwise you don't know if the other one has responded already, because you're not going to be
Yeah.
CC'd. So let's just agree that Rick will handle any replies to emails that come into info, but you will both get those emails. When it comes to security codes for logins and stuff, you'll both get a copy.
Yeah, I hate to erase it in case, because who knows what else is hooked to it, the info.
No,
But,
there's nothing. It's anywhere that we've set up a login. It's just a login address, info@enable.org. Those aren't going to be affected. Like your Zoom
Okay.
login. I'm not changing that. I'm just changing the email account itself. So it won't affect anything. So I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and do that now. It'll take me just a minute to make the changes. And then I will send through a test email as soon as that's done. And then Sarah.
Yeah,
at that
last
point-
time, I don't even remember, Sarah, if we got you going last time. I know you, between the two of us, one of us was getting codes and the other one was trying to make it go. And I don't know that we
Yeah.
actually got it to
It
work.
wasn't, so what happened, that meeting that you're referring to, it wasn't able to be live streamed, and I uploaded the recording to YouTube after
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
meeting.
Okay,
I
so-
just remember we were trying
So I'm going to
to,
make I'm going to make the changes now, Sarah. As soon as you get the email from me, and it's going to come through to your Sarah@enable.org account, and Rick, it'll be your e-NABLE account that these go to, by the way. So Sarah, I'll send you an email when it's done. If you could then go ahead and try getting in on Zoom using the info account, doing the password, thing. If you need to, just make sure everything's working and let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, I can join in and help you get the live stream started again if needed.
yeah,
Um,
I know we're not the only ones that struggle with that. I know
Yeah, Google just has been cracking down on their security measures, so it's just not really a workable approach anymore. So let me go make those changes and I'll send you guys a message when it's done. Should be pretty soon.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
thank you.